Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present angelic messengers or mortal projections at this year's International Association for the Psychology of Religion conference. My name is Bernie Taylor, and my research explores a deep root to mankind's creative capacity by looking at how we came to view our cosmos through the study of Upper Paleolithic cave art. In this presentation, we will journey back in time to the earliest depicted angelic projections from the human imagination to better understand how they came to be. Belief in the angel, or human bird avianoid, as a messenger between humans and the divine is widely found in religious literature, art, and in the anthropological record. Here we find the angel Gabriel in the Abrahamic traditions, who is a messenger to Mary, mother of Jesus, Abraham, Daniel, and Muhammad. The avianoid comes in many forms and is not unique to the Abrahamic traditions. The Greek Zeus, god of sky and thunder, who ruled over Mount Olympus, transformed himself into the eagle Aguilar to swoop down and abduct the beautiful young boy Antinous, who would become his cupbearer. The falcon-headed Horus was an intermediary to the divine for the ancient Egyptians. The giant bird Garuda was a mount of the Hindu god Vishnu. Tengu, with its human and avian characteristics, is found in Japanese folk religion. In ancient Babylon, an important deity was the winged avianoid Ishtar, and in ancient Assyria, the benevolent Genie was winged. In the Siberian Yakut shamanic experience, the practitioner transforms in a sacred horse dance through the aid of a horse and bird. The aim of the dance is usually to travel to another dimension, usually the land of the dead, whether above or below, to ask the deceased shaman for assistance in healing or some other need of the clan. In mythological terms, the transformative Yakut shaman might be called the trickster. The tradition of asking the deceased for assistance, whether they be demigods or saints, was widespread in ancient times as well as in practice today. This chronicle of a Yakut shaman's sacred horse dance was documented about 1900 by a Russian ethnographer. We should watch for transformative practices such as through birds and horses and consider the concept of healing in the arts as we go along. On the American continents and Siberia, animistic peoples adorn the wings of a bird to connect with the great mystery. The wearing of just a single feather to aid in that same connection to the beyond, which goes by so many words, can be found almost worldwide among people who not long ago were or are presently hunter-gatherers. This is a global phenomenon that may reach back to our early animistic root in our prehistoric past. We can draw what has been learned by anthropologists and then look to the archaeological record for further study. There we may find more about from where the avianoids of animistic, shamanic, and ancient times to the present originate, and whether these images are truly angelic messengers or mortal projections. Clues may be found with this prehistoric avianoid in the French Cave of Lascaux to about 17,000 years ago. He is in the so-called shaft of the dead man. Note that there is no evidence he or anyone else was dead in the shaft. The birdman is surrounded by a bison, who appears to be dropping her calf, a spraying rhino, and a bird on a post. The orientation of the bird on the post and the hooves of the rhino establish the lower horizontal plane. The birdman is at the same angle as the heliacal horizon of Orion relative to the horizon. Note that the orientation of a constellation to the horizon changes over time and in different locations. This pictorial astronomical relationship is not likely to be by chance. We may find more clues in other Upper Paleolithic caves. On the Agnus Dei panel in the French Grotte de Pair-non-Pair from an earlier period, we find this agitated mare looking over her back. Picasso appears to have borrowed this horse from Grotte de Pair-non-Pair. I am being generous with the word borrowing. The Spanish artist had an interesting twist on this perspective. In his own words, I would rather copy others than repeat myself. In that way, I should at least be giving them something new. We can compare an expanded view of the original panel to my outline masked birdman character. The mask is most representative of a griffin vulture. Less obvious are the rump and forward rear leg of the horse that have the appearance of a plunge diving turn. Picasso borrowed this Upper Paleolithic avianoid for his 1936 painting curtain design for Armand Rolland's play Les 14 Juliette. Note the long beak, strong breast, large fingers, and odd feet on both avianoid characters. We may find evidence of the avianoid among earlier art in the Upper Paleolithic cave of El Castillo on the Iberian Peninsula, where on the 10-meter across panel called the gallery discs, there are more than 80 red discs that are on average about the size of the palm of your hand. One disc among them has been dated to at least 34,000 years ago. On this panel, we find an archetypal teacher and apprentice. We may also refer to the archetypal teacher as a spiritual leader or trickster, who is the internal guide from the place of the ordinary to that of the extraordinary, such that he may take us today. Note the wide interested eyes of the apprentice and how the teacher speaks into his ear. He appears to be sharing a captivating story. Maybe he can tell us more about avianoids. Let's listen in. Also listening in on the shoulder of the teacher is a fledgling golden eagle that stands about a foot tall. This is roughly a mid to late June time period for the young eagle. The artist is designating a time and place. There's also this masked cosmic man avianoid, whose left leg and right arm are raised. The right hand holds what appears to be an egg. His left arm has a feathered texture. We can take a closer look at the mask of the cosmic man. Note that he has one eye on the left side of his face, and the right is the beak of an eagle. One can see the impression of a nose below the mask and what appears to be a mouth and teeth above a dropped chin. This is where we truly see the many realities of an animist. When we turn our heads 90 degrees sideways, which may take some of us out of our chairs, the teacher and the fledgling golden eagle transform into the mask of the cosmic man. See how the artist used the juvenile eagle to form the beak of the cosmic man's mask. The artist is telling us that the bird and the man are separate, but can also be the same. The avianoid is not of the divine. The teacher, as trickster, travels with the assistance of the bird to another reality or dimension, which is of the divine. We will learn more about these concepts as we go along. On this panel, we find a speckled mare. She is agitated and appears to be leaping with her head turned as if something is on her back. Our cosmic man may be what has agitated the speckled mare. He merges with her in the same tradition as the birdman horse on the Agnus Dei panel at the Grotte de Pair-non-Pair. Again, the horse gives him strength. The cosmic man is now the hero who has answered the call and is now on his adventure or journey. All the animal beings on this panel merge or interact with the human characters. We encounter another transformation where a mask is put on to become an avianoid. Note that our hero's left hand is feathered and behind his back. This is also the feathered left hand of the cosmic man. They are the same character. The avianoid, or early source of angels, is originally of a man. I fully accept that for some scholars this may be that aha moment, while for others it may be heresy at best. Yet wherever one stands, questions about from where we come from and how we came to believe what we do face us all. There are many other animal beings on this panel. Some will help us to put the avianoid in context. One is the spinning bottlenose dolphin. Note that the dolphin is depicted above the surf. We have now entered a marine environment. Our hero emerges with the dolphin to become a merman and now has the ability to swim and leap out of the water like a dolphin. The dolphin also assists our hero by lifting him into the sky. He reaches the far shore, which is now Western North Africa, to be greeted by a monk seal. The artist is describing a journey across land and sea. On that far shore there is a woman in distress. See her sunken chin and cheeks, sorrowful eyes, and long braided hair, accentuated by the red discs. When the damsel in distress archetype is encountered, the story is evoked. The surrounding characters fill in the cast. There is a Spitzus dog with its tail flopped forwards. Present-day DNA studies indicate the Spitz to be one of the oldest known dogs. Here is an elephant drinking water from a pool and another with a raised trunk, or so it seems. Turn your head sideways and you will see that they are the same elephant the artist formed from the same ear and trunk. Our hero enters and swims in the pool. See his head and arms freestyle swimming. Our strong swimmer's moving head show him coming up for air between strokes. He encounters the elephant in the pool. The artist depicted an aerial view of the elephant in water with her floating ears. We find pictured here an inner conflict. Our hero meets and struggles with his self, where we will soon see is in another time and place. Perhaps this is an Upper Paleolithic version of the ghost of Christmas past. The hero has external battles as well. He encounters a lion who paws him to the ground. The hero prevails, becoming the apex predator. As a symbol of that strength, he wears the red-spotted pelt. This depicted myth is, of course, connected to that of Hercules, who slays the Nemean lion in a deep cave and takes home the bloodied pelt as evidence. We continue on to find a mother bear watching her cubs climb a tree to safety, and a large toothy crocodile, which our hero gets mixed up with. We can now travel back in time to mid-June some 35,000 years ago with astronomical software to see these depicted human and animal beings on the Garuda discs and in the night sky's constellations. The journey of our hero was mirrored in the night sky. We can recognize many of the constellations in the ancient Greek astronomical record. Traveling from north to south, at the top of the panel, when turned 90 degrees, we have the masked cosmic man, who is the constellation Hercules. The eagle that he merges with is Agilor. The eagle also merges with the horse that is Pegasus to give her wings. Remember Pegasus as a constellation. We return to this character again. In that great astronomical expanse we call the sea is the bottlenose dolphin Pisces, which is swimming southward in a scene we can now recognize through astronomy as a night journey across water. On the southern shore is the monk seal, which the Greeks found to be the monster cetus. I've swum with monk seals and found them to be playful. I suppose that if one heard a monk seal in the dark, the being might sound monstrous. In other presentations that can be found on my webpage, beforeorion.com, I guide the viewer through additional human and animal beings on the Garuda discs to explore the origins of other constellations. Many are familiar to us, such as the pictured spitz dog, which is Canis Major. The red-haired hero is Orion, who we viewed as being lifted out of the water by the dolphin, and confronting himself as Perseus in a different time and place. As well as the lion Leo, Ursa Major as the she-bear, Draco the dragon as represented by the crocodile, among others. What is most important about these animal beings and constellations in this discussion is that the avianoid experience came from a broader spiritual journey across time and space that involved many animal beings which assisted the hero. Some other animal beings worth noting are the juvenile giraffe who hides her neck behind her mother's, along with the Barbary ape, which are both native to Africa, and this breaching humpback whale, who carries our hero home in her belly that is reminiscent of the biblical Jonah and the whale. The succession of characters illustrate that the journey or pilgrimage of the hero on the Garuda discs is from Europe in the north at the top of the panel to Western North Africa at the bottom with this presented orientation, and then back again. We can determine Europe as a region by the pictured Horus and other animals that were native to the continent. The strait of Gibraltar, where the hero swam as a dolphin, encountered the seal, and rode inside of the whale, are described by these marine animals. Western North Africa is where we found the giraffes and Barbary ape. We can thereby originate the avianoid archetype to at least 34,000 years ago at the Iberian Peninsula or Western North Africa. A sacred space in either region could have been the starting point or destination of this prehistoric cosmic pilgrimage. We may find such sacred space as we journey forwards in this presentation. Let us now travel south to Gorham's Cave of Gibraltar to view Gorham's etching, which is contemporaneous with the Garuda discs. Gorham's etching bears a close resemblance to the nearby Mulhassan, which is the highest peak on the Iberian Peninsula. Let us take a closer look to compare the horizontal and vertical lines on each. Note the natural irregularity in the mountain that the Gorham's etching artist captured. This section has a look of an agitated horse. This is pareidolia, but at the same time gives us a physical source for Gorham's etching. To the viewer's upper left on Gorham's etching, there are a teacher wearing a mask and his listening apprentice. The mask of the teacher has the appearance of a kite. We can see the mouth of the teacher below the mask. The scene echoes the spiritual leader on the Garuda discs, who whispers into the ear of the wide-eyed apprentice. Note that we have seen the hero and the teacher transform into different birds at each location. Each species of bird may have designated the clan or region of each spiritual leader. Like the Garuda disc teacher, the Gorham etching teacher spiritual leader draws strength from other animal beings. We can see a mother bear with her golden cub extending from his left shoulder and a wolf on his right. They both give him strength for his journey. There are many other characters on this panel. the artist used two of the horizontal lines on Mulhausen to create this other agitated horse. This suggests that the agitated horse character was first found as pareidoia in the geological face of Mulhausen, then projected into the night sky as the constellation Pegasus. Afterwards, the image was transferred to other cave walls. This observation is consistent with animistic traditions, where the animals, geological formations, and the stars are spiritual beings. In a modern sense, we may say they are like gods. The central line forms the waist of our hero, while vertical and horizontal lines outline his running legs. He encounters an ostrich. One can look closely at the ostrich character to see the features of the man. Our hero merges with the ostrich to become this odd, monstrous character who is accompanied by a pair of overlapping dogs. The character in his left hand has the appearance of a lion. Perhaps the legs of the ostrich give him the ability to run faster. He then transforms into a centaur birdman in the traditions of the Agnus Dei panel in the Grotte de Pair-non-Pair and the Garuda disc in the El Castillo cave. And like the animal beings on those panels, these give him strength. One might consider this image to be insane, yet high forms of art, whether expressed in song, dance, or in paintings and engravings we find throughout time, are sometimes both a symptom and a remedy for the prevailing state of grief or mental illness. That is, they are the antidote, churned up by the mind when trapped in a box of normality. The creation of the art is a healing process. In the anthropological literature on shamanism in Siberia, there's often a long-term shaman's illness that the practitioner has suffered and which drew him or her to this direction. We find the cosmological connection in our transformed Gorham's cave hero. The bright star Sirius in Canis Major is designated behind both Orion characters. Sirius is an actual star on the flank of the foredog at his rear. Throughout these images, we have found that the teacher, spiritual leader, and perhaps trickster has guided the initiate and us through the three realms that structure the interwoven fabric of his cosmos. Those are the mortal plane, the underworld, and the celestial realm, which can neither be studied empirically nor consciously experienced, and thus evade the tools of scientific analysis. These avianoids continue to be transformative characters that we easily recognize as they speak to our psychological willingness to interact with and draw strength from other animal beings. The transformative avianoid is often integral to the spiritual experience that is at the core of our being and apparently unique to humans. Garudasana, or ego pose in yoga, along with other animal being helpers, and the movements through the cosmos in the practice are barely indistinguishable from the animistic cosmic interconnections projected by the cave artists. Our ability to look back tens of thousands of years in the Upper Paleolithic cave record now connects dots in our psychological understanding of religion, bringing a not yet forgotten spirituality back into the light. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak at this year's conference. More in my work can be found at these sites. I'm always open to cooperate on projects and virtually present my work to community and academic audiences. A pre-recording of this presentation will be posted to my webpage.